And welcome to the first ever video episode of Problem Busters. Hello, Jonathan. How are you?
Hello, Ollie. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. How long have we been doing the show now? About a year, maybe a year and a half? Something
a year
like
and
that.
a bit, yeah. A year,
And that's how long it took the YouTube generation to wear me down.
You're now one of
Wouldn't
us.
it be nice if we did video?
Exactly,
we could do video,
exactly. It's the
Ollie.
millennial.
So what are we going to do today, my friend? I know it is.
So we have an esteemed guest. We have Liz Batalla, who is the founder and executive director of the Institute for Achievement and Excellence. She's also the author of Level Up to Move Up, The Three Forces in Achieving Excellence. Awesome.
Welcome, Liz.
Definitely.
And you got through it,
Thank
Jonathan.
I did. Oh,
Thank you,
cool.
gentlemen.
No, no worries. No worries. We're glad to have you on. So, Liz, could you give us a bit about yourself?
Sure. I have been in the corporate environment for more than 30 years now and lecturing at different academic institutions. And in 2020, I decided to create the Institute for Achievement and Excellence to help women level up so that they can step into senior leadership roles and navigate the business world better.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So what originally drew you to it? What was that core piece? What was the drive for you?
For me, the drive, John, is that I have worked in predominantly male dominated environments. So banking, oil and gas, IT, professional services. And during that time, many people, women predominantly, came to me with, different concerns and issues and worries about their personal and professional progress. And we had some really deep conversations. And one of the things that came out of that is how did I navigate that space and continue to do so successfully? And the pointers I was giving them and the help that I was giving them, sometimes informally, I felt that, I wanted to bring that to the masses. I wanted to make that information available because I saw the impact it had on these women and every life that they touched.
Okay. So in essence, the experiences that you went through is sort of giving you a repertoire of things and advice to pass on to other women in the industries. Was there anything that sort of that stood out that was a reoccurring or something key that was reoccurring to you that you tend to always pass on to women who seek advice?
I would say that there were three things that tend to worry women I spoke to in the corporate environment. So if we zoom in a bit on the corporate environment, because there are many things in their personal life, but in terms of the corporate space, one was lack of confidence. In terms of putting themselves forward, speaking up at meetings sometimes, or just going for that new opportunity or that higher paying role or that more senior leadership role. So confidence was one of them. The other one was a feeling of overwhelm or imposter syndrome. I guess you can say it could stem from confidence, but many times there were other factors that were part of the process of them feeling that way. And the final one, the third one, was a lack of flexibility in the organization in terms of flexible working hours to accommodate them, because women, we still tend to be the main carers at home, whether it be for elderly parents, for children, etc. And sometimes having that flexibility can really, really help alleviate the stresses of a situation. So I would say those were the three main ones that I had conversations with where women were concerned.
It's
Wow.
such a big one, isn't it?
Wow.
It comes through a lot in coaching for me. That feeling of I just often find myself in a situation with really smart, really hardworking, impressive women who will say things like, "I just feel like I've got this kind of imposter syndrome, and I'm just not sure I'm doing a good job." And then I compare that to, say, young men of a similar sort of age, and they're just not saying that as much, Liz, at all.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
I
what?
think oh
No, go on, mate.
no, I was saying I can see it as well in family members who seek advice as well, compared to the young men compared to the young women. It's I mean the confidence issue is really key, I think, and that fear of sort of that imposter syndrome. I've suffered from it myself, to be honest. If I'm quite transparent and frank,
And me.
I've suffered from it myself.
Mm.
Um, and I think that is such a huge mountain. If you're experiencing it, it's such a big thing to overcome. And I think somebody like Liz being able to sort of reaffirm and give you these skills is just fantastic. Was there anything in your early sort of career that you would go back and want to change or do differently?
That's a fantastic question. For me, if there was one thing I can do differently, would probably be starting earlier what I am doing now. I think that is the one thing I would have changed. I would not have waited this long to start the process I'm in now. And I know that, we all have our timing and other things need to be taken into account, personal life, etc., and where we are at the stage in our professional life also. And I'm grateful for the experiences I've had because those experiences are what feeds into the programs. However, I still feel if I had to do it all over again, I would probably have started this process earlier.
And what do you mean by that? Which process? Do you mean setting up the institute and beginning to train and to guide people?
Absolutely. Setting up the Institute for Achievement and Excellence because throughout my career, Ollie, I have helped others. I have trained, I have lectured at different universities and academic institutions. So I've always been in a position to give back, but in a very, very closed circle sort of way, nothing expansive, nothing international where I can touch multiple lives at the same time. So for me, having the Institute for Achievement and Excellence and creating the programs that go along with it and making those available online, self-paced, where anyone from any part of the world can access that information in the comfort of their own home. For me, that was priceless, and that was a piece that was missing from what I was doing in my career. And that is what I would have done earlier if I had to go back and do it all over again. That making that available earlier in the game.
It's interesting, isn't it, Jonathan? Because the answer to this question is often quite similar in the sense that people have found their way to something that they really vibe with, and
Mm.
and looking back would be more confident and would go into it earlier. That's it's
Yeah.
cool because it means that you've ended up at a good place, right, Liz?
Absolutely.
Amazing. So, what would you say the impact of those three factors that you mentioned earlier? What do you think the impact is on society, um, in terms of, for example, again the imposter syndrome or the confidence? What impact is that having on women in society that you see that the institute can help address?
First of all, the impact is monumental. In terms of a woman's personal life, it can affect her relationship with family, friends, loved ones, etc. And that in itself can be a very stressful situation for her. But if I were to look at it in the context of businesses, I mean, at this point, I read an article by the McKinsey and Company. And what they were saying, it's a 2020 article they had. And in many companies, in fact, only 15% of companies have women in senior leadership positions. 15%, and more than a third of companies have no senior leadership representation at all. There are no women in senior leadership roles. And many companies say that one of the reasons is that women don't step into those particular roles. And then women would say that, the process is not supportive of them doing that, because they have put themselves forward, but they lack the sponsorship, they lack the programs, and sometimes even the terminology used in the job description. It's very much against the woman's psyche, and to help her step into that role, because it's well known and, and well studied that you know a man may step into a role or put himself forward if he just understands 50 to 60% of the job requirements. Most women in the 90s percentile they need to understand before they put themselves forward. So it's the whole process from induction all the way to exit. Now, in terms of what the Institute can do to help, I say to women, that there are two pieces to this puzzle. One is what the company can do, and it's what the company is responsible for doing. And that's something I also help companies with, because I work with companies as well, not just individuals. The other piece of the puzzle is, what can women themselves do? How can they help themselves, so that the only, I would say, disadvantaged variable, so to speak, is that of the company. But the woman can take control in the areas that she has total control of, which is herself. And that's where the programs come in. I focus on what women can do to help level up very quickly using the